you're new here, I'm Megs. I run Move Like Water Collective at Anna Bay, but also have an online space for workshops, for videos, for movement, for nervous system and fascia health. This is approximately a 20-minute rollout using a foam roller and a lacrosse ball to really help get into the superficial layers of fascia, and that's the fascia that really holds our lymphatic system, our vascular system, our nervous system, and of course all of our systems in our body. So if we're feeling tired and locked up and we feel like we're not moving very well or things are not draining properly, then this is a really nice thing that you can do. So we're going to start with our foam roller and we're going to start onto the spine. You can pop the lacrosse ball to the side here. As always, if something doesn't feel right for you, please don't do it. Just adjust and make sure that you listen to your body, because no one will be your biggest teacher but yourself. So really tune into what your body is telling you. So we are going to get that roller onto the thoracic spine. Now I really like to hold the back of my head here. And I also don't want to go too much on that lower lumbar. It's going to feel really uncomfortable if you start to go into the lower lumbar. So we want to just stay onto the thoracic spine and we're just slowly rolling up and down. Now, I love rolling in the morning. As I said, this really starts to stimulate your lymphatic system. It really helps the body burn body fat as well, because it starts to get a lot of fluids going. We have to remember that our fascia is like what holds all the water in our body, and if it's getting stagnant and stuck and calcified, as if we sit a lot, we're on our device a lot, or we're wearing shoes a lot, the body becomes very rigid. So this is a really great way to get some movement happening from the inside out. Now we're going to be on these movement patterns for approximately, 45 seconds to a minute. As I said, it's about 20 minutes of rolling here, which I think all of us have the time to do that. Alright, so from our thoracic spine, what we're going to think about doing is staying kind of opposite my sternum, and you can drop your bum down for this one. And I'm actually just going to take a bit of a roll over onto my lats here, and then I'm going to roll back. This is a really nice one, especially if you have any tightness and tension into the upper back, or you're on a phone a lot. You'll find that you move into that kind of rolled shoulder position, or we get really tight across the chest. So we're trying to just kind of break up any tense and tight tissue around the scapula, the top of the rib cage, and into the pec minor and major. This is quite painful for me today, but it's also really important to make sure that you are not pushing into pain, as in it shouldn't really make you tense up. You should still be able to diaphragmatic breathe while you're doing these movements. So just watch what your body does. Make sure that there's no gripping and grabbing on, and just move really nice and slow. Okay, well done. So we're going to spend a little bit more time here now onto that sort of lat area. I'm going to grab that roller and I'm going to get it almost under the armpit here. Alright, so it's also getting the top of my rib cage here. Now we get really tight in these areas for the reasons I just mentioned before, because we all hold phones, and anytime we move into any stress or anxiety or tension, or environmental shapes, as in chairs, phones and devices, we start to get really closed across the front of the chest. So as we're rolling here, I'm trying to get into that fascia on each side of the rib cage, and also into the upper back and the backs of the shoulders here, as well as the chest. So for me today, it's definitely feeling a lot more tighter on that posterior side. So just explore for about another 20 seconds, just really slowly rolling forward and back, and just gently massaging the tissue. That really connects and, pulls us in and down if we've been having a day where, as I said, we're on those devices a lot. It's going to feel really, really good. Now we're going to stay on that same side, okay, and we're going to move it now down to the rib cage. Now, of course, this is an area, again, that can become really contracted for a lot of us. So I'm going to find kind of the base of my rib cage here, supporting with my elbow, and I'm going to roll onto the front of the rib cage, and then roll back in a lateral fashion towards the back of my spine. Now, what I'm trying to do here is create space around the diaphragm. Our diaphragm lives just underneath the rib cage, and if we have environmental pressures or struggles or things we need to do throughout our day where we compress and contract, then unfortunately our breathing becomes inhibited, and that will play a huge role in how hydrated our bodies are and also the state of our nervous system. So we're trying to create some space around the rib cage here, and of course the organs. I just rolled over some really thick tissue then. I don't even know if you heard it. It just was a massive clunk then. Now that is showing me that there is some adhesions here in my body. We're not working with the adhesions today. We're working with the superficial layer of fascia. I have different videos for that if you do want to work with fascia decompression and get a little bit deeper into those adhesions. But now we're just working onto those layers just underneath the skin. All right, let's take our time to move that now to the other side. So just do whatever you need to do here. Now remember, we're going to visit the top part here first. So we're going to get onto, or get into right underneath the armpit, kind of on the muscle of the lat, and then also applying some pressure to the scapula on that posterior side. Oh, that's so sore for me today. On that posterior side of the body. So really gently just rolling forward and back, looking and searching for any areas that might be communicating to you, and just being really gentle as you move through those spaces. Just a very slow roll. Again, if you need more, support it with your forearm. Make sure that you are breathing through the nose and out through the nose. That's really important for your hydration and also helping your nervous system stay relaxed. It's a really nice way to finish your day. It's a lot better than getting on your phone and scrolling. When you're actually giving back to the body loves it, and it responds really well when we spend time on our bodies, nurturing our bodies and creating space. Oh, all right, roll it down to the rib cage now. I'm on the bottom of the rib cage here. Again, we're trying to create space around the organs and the diaphragm, and we're just going to start to roll anterior and posterior. Take your time with that. Again, it's really important you're breathing. If you can't breathe here, that means it's too much. So back it off. Your body will always be your biggest teacher. As I said at the start of this, no one will ever be the best teacher for you but yourself. So as you roll through these movements, just be really curious about what your body is telling you. This side is nowhere near as tight as my other side. So that gives me some really good information that I can work with over the next couple of days to possibly release some adhesions in my body by staying onto the area for a couple of minutes and applying a bit more pressure. Alright, we are going to come into a release now for the stomach area. Now this is going to go across the belly button area. Now this roller is sometimes a little bit too much. I've got a half dome here that I'm going to use, but I'm also going to show you on the big roller so that you can adjust accordingly. If this feels too much and you don't have a half dome, you can use a rolled up towel for this one as well. Now I want to show you with this particular tool here, because this is a really great one for getting into the belly. I'm going to be bringing that across my belly button, okay? So there's no bones on there. My hip bones are just off, and I'm using my forearms to support here. So it's going to be pressing straight into my belly, and I'm going to be taking a few moments here as I let myself sink over the space. Now, we kind of want to be doing a little bit of movement here. This can feel really uncomfortable, so please support yourself as much as you need. If you just have one of these guys, that's no problem, but just make sure that you're fully supporting yourself here. So I'm going to use this guy because I know not everyone's got a half dome, and it's going right across my belly button. I'm using my forearms to drop down onto that. Now, the main thing is again here that we are breathing. So I want you to think and inhale through the nose, the belly expands into the roller. And then exhale through the nose and then soften. Now, we're just going to be spending about a minute here. Just feel free to move it around just a little bit, massaging the tissue that's holding your digestive system. Creating some space around the organs. Again, we have to remember that that superficial layer of fascia holds, supports, and creates the framework for our organs in this area. So if our bodies are more often in stress than they are in a relaxed state, that means that the fascia that surrounds and supports and provides the framework for the organs will be more so in this like tense and like rigid state, because that's what we are practicing with our nervous system. So it's so important to understand that how we perceive our environment plays a huge role on what is happening inside with our fascia, and then how that holds our cells, our blood vessels, our organs, our muscles, and our joints. So if this is really tight and tender, be gentle with yourself, and maybe recognizing that there might be a few adhesions in and around this area if the body has been under a little bit of stress, and just see if you can just massage gently into that space for another 3 breaths. This can bring up emotions such as frustration or anger, sometimes even rage. Because we're pressing into an area of the body that is our fire center, it is our heat. So if you've been holding on to anything or not saying anything, you can definitely feel it here, and that's so normal and that's so okay. Just give yourself that permission. Alright, we are going to slowly come off that. So how did that feel? We're going to get into now moving down that lower body. So what we're going to start off with is getting into the adductor. So kind of just where we were, I'm just going to throw that left leg over, and I'm turning the roller on about 45 degrees. Now I like to use both my forearms on the ground here and just start to slide up the inner thigh or the adductor all the way to the groin. And then just spend a little bit of time here. So kind of just massaging around that top part of the inner thigh. I'm using my hands for support and my forearm onto the ground here. Now this is a little bit uncomfortable. We don't want it to be a walk in the park. I can definitely feel some tight areas that is telling me that there is probably likely some adhesions. Again, build up of collagen where tissue gets stuck and tight and rigid. In this area, especially in and around closer to my patella, the knee joint, right? So the middle thigh is not too bad, but as I come here, I can definitely feel some pain and some tension right here. Again, which gives me some feedback to work on that a bit later on. So if you are interested in working on those adhesions, I do have some videos onto fascia decompression and just applying a little bit more pressure with your breath to try to work into those deeper layers of fascia that create roadblocks in our flow. Oh, so it should feel good in a way, but also it does feel a little bit painful as well, of course. Oh, all right, beautiful. So now that we've worked that medial inner thigh, what we're going to explore now is onto the quad. Now this can be, again, quite a painful transition. So as I'm working into the quadricep, I'm going to be coming onto my forearms on the same leg that I was just working. And I'm going to start right up near the hip flexor, okay? So we're going to get right up kind of at the insertion point of the hip flexor and the quad into the groins, and I'm just slowly starting to move my way down the belly of the quadricep. Now, as I'm moving through this one, this can be quite a interesting journey. Our quads tend to hold a lot of tightness and tension because a lot of us in Western society sit a lot. We tend to put the hip in flexion. The hip joint is a ball and socket joint, and it's not designed to be rigid, and so therefore our quads and our hamstrings can become exceptionally tight, and we develop, of course, a lot of adhesions in that area because there's not a lot of blood flow. We're not moving the joint to its nature. So as you're rolling through your quads, start to slowly make your way down, noticing again what you feel, supporting your body as much as you need, all the way to the patella. So I'm getting right close to that patella now, which is again quite painful here, but it also feels really good at the same time. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn my back to you here. I'm actually going to roll like this, and again I'm going to use both of my hands and I'm going to move into my IT band. So I'm pressing on the outer part of my thigh now. I'm going to spend 30 seconds here just rolling into that IT band, which again can become super, super tight. So using your bottom foot for support, not rushing it, applying pressure onto the IT band, start to roll it out. And then from here, you're going to just roll over and we're going to access that same hamstring. So again, I'm on the same hamstring that I just did the quad. And if I want to apply a bit more pressure, I can actually lift myself up here or put the other leg on top. But I'm starting right near the insertion point near the glute. And I'm just doing a little bit of a roll forward and back here. And then again, slowly starting to move down that hamstring. This feels pretty good for me today. Feel free to explore like the lateral side and the medial side of the hamstring as well. And then move down a little bit more. And again, you might add a little bit of weight as you come down here. This is definitely talking to me at the moment. So rolling out a little bit closer to the patella or towards the that posterior side right into the knee joint. Now I can really feel that, especially on the medial side, coming into the patella, which is really interesting. So some good feedback there. All right, and then lastly, we go into our calves. Same leg, start right near the patella. And just again, I like to add a little bit of weight here. You don't have to. We're just going to start to roll the calf. Now, as I said, I've got quite a few videos on fascia decompression, especially for the calves and the feet, but this isn't what we're doing today. As I said, we're really just trying to get into that superficial layer of fascia to create some blood flow and some movement into that incredible extracellular matrix, again, that is mostly water, so that our bodies can move well from the inside out. And we stimulate all of our systems here, encouraging better blood flow with your breath. Move down the calf a little bit here, and this will be the last one for this side. It's normal if your calves feel really tight and locked up. Most people I work with, their calves have a lot of holding patterns, which of course, if the calf is tight or the foot is tight, is going to actually pull your knees and your hips out of alignment. And that's where we start to see things like back pain, shoulder pain, and of course, other things that start to happen upstream because we have a misalignment happening downstream. Beautiful. All right, so let's move back to the other side. So we're going to come onto the side here and we're getting straight into that adductor. Turn the roller 45 degrees. And we're just going to start to get onto that inner part of the thigh here. I've got a really good spot here, just rolling all the way to the groins. And then maybe even to the medial side where it meets the patella. As I said, about 45 seconds-ish on each section is more than enough. So even if You wake up, you give yourself these 20 minutes or so just to get into your body. I guarantee you'll really reduce the risk of injury. You'll help your body come back to alignment, and you will feel so much more connected to yourself and your body as you move into your day. All right. So moving from the adductor and the inner thigh over onto the quad. So we're going to turn the body so that I have both forearms down. I'm now on that right quad, and I'm going to start right at the top near the hip flexor. All right, so just getting, oh, that feels great. Getting into the hip flexor. Now I've been talking a lot through this to guide you through it, but it's really important again, and I know I've said this a few times, that you are breathing. So your diaphragmatic breath is so important here. So make sure you're not scrolling on your phone. You're not trying to do two things at once. You are completely focused and in your body, because it is your breath that allows that blood and oxygen to get into every single cell. If you're not breathing, that is not happening, and your body will become cold, dehydrated, and stuck. Oh, slowly start to move down towards the knee. Alright, ready for that IT band. We spin onto the side here, both hands down, and we roll onto that, that outer leg. Alright, now I want to bring that other leg in, and using a lot of support here, because this can be so painful, rolling down that lateral side of the leg all the way up to the hip. Oh, really flushing out the tissue here. Breath nice and steady. And then flip it over onto your bum. You're on the same leg, and we're going to work the hamstring. So I'm going to start right up near the glute here, and just working through into that hamstring. So rolling through onto the back of that right hamstring. It's feeling pretty good on this side. Remember, you can tilt into the medial side, over to the lateral side. Start to come down into the belly of the hamstring now. Now remember, you can always add a bit of extra weight by popping that other leg over the top. Maybe again you explore that medial sides. Notice if this side feels different than the other side, and then move towards the back of the knee joint. Now, just getting onto that medial side here, it can feel actually quite nice. I say nice, it's painful, but it also feels quite good. Alright, and then we are going to take it finally down to the calf. So as we come onto that calf, right again, I'm going to start near the patella, just rolling up the top here. Straight away, I'm going to pop a little bit of weight onto that. Same thing, just a little bit of movement here, forward and back. And over the next 30 seconds or so, you can sort of start to move down the calf, as if this can be really tight for a lot of us. So use the support. You'll see I'm on my hands a bit. Feel free to add weight if you want. I don't need to do that. I'm getting enough out of this being here. Now, of course, I did say to use a lacrosse ball or to grab a lacrosse ball. Look, that's just if you want a little bit of extra pressure. I actually didn't use it today in this video, but you are so welcome to use it onto your calf. You're so welcome to get into the back of your traps here, which I'll just do a quick little demo. I've got a little bit of time here, which can feel quite nice. So getting that lacrosse ball into the back of the trapezius. There it is. And then you can actually just do like a little bit of movement here, actually just getting the arm and circling it around the joint. Now, that can feel quite strong because these are quite hard. You can also just collapse yourself over that ball and just let the body just land. And just maybe spending about a minute either side. And sometimes it's really nice a little bit further up around the SCM muscle in the neck and getting into any of that tight tissue, especially at the end of the day, where the upper tracts and the sternocleidomastoid can really jump on, and just spending some time like here, letting the ball do its work. So I hope you feel good after that. Again, a really nice thing to do, whether it be at the end of the day or in the morning. Our bodies really love to have space. They naturally don't like being in chairs and on devices or in shoes. So whenever you can get something and pressure, whether it be a person or a roller or a ball into the body responds so well. And as I said, stimulates our whole 12 systems. If you're breathing diaphragmatically and doing stuff like that, that is one way to really start to hydrate and nourish your body from the inside out without doing much at all. If you got something out of this, please give it a like and subscribe, or go check out my programs over on movelikewatercollective.com.au.